one of the things I say to people is I take all hope away from your organization. I replace it with certainty. And they go, oh yeah.
Hi, and welcome to Helping People Perform, the podcast that gives you fascinating insights into those people whose chosen vocation is to help others perform at their best. From consultants to teachers, sports coaches to financial advisors, all of my guests share a passion for getting the most out of individuals, teams, and organisations. Enjoy the episode. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Helping People Perform. Delighted to be joined today all the way from Chelmsford in Essex. We have a wonderful mix of sound engineer and business consultant, certainly not a mix we've had on the show in the past, and I'm really intrigued to find out where those two worlds collide. Welcome to the show today, John Wallace. Welcome.
Hello there, Paul.
Great to have you on, John. And I know from our previous chats that there's some amazing stuff that you've done and have two worlds that sort of collide in two parts of what you do. And I really wanted to have you on the show to discuss those two areas and what people can learn. So maybe you can kick us off with a bit of background in terms of what got you to where you are today.
Sure. Okay. Well, you're probably right. It is a strange mix, but people kind of get it when they know me. So, I'm a musician, and through necessity, I'm a composer. So, over the years, to get my music out there, shall we say, especially we're talking quite a few years now since I started doing this. There was a growing necessity, both in live performance and therefore recording, to be able to know what I was doing on a sound desk, and and just getting my music and performers to sound at the best, as I say, to get the best traction on what I was writing, and because of the need to make money, you have a day job as well. So this was a few years ago now, so I now do both of these as my day job, so my sort of business career went through I was working for like people like BT and people like that, and you go through this sort of route, and people started to say to me, oh, you want to get into the sales side? I said, oh, no, I don't like shiny shoes salespeople, they annoy me. And they said, it'll be fine because you're not actually like that, you'll do okay. And they were right. So I ended up with these sort of in business but two parallel universes of music that was writing, but also say sound engineering and recording. And learning the art and craft, shall we call it, of actually helping people, or selling, and they reached a point, this was nearly 20 years ago now, so 18 and a half, 19 years ago, that I was in a very fortunate position to be able to leave what was my day job. At that point, I'd had, I reckon, about maybe 15 years experience of senior level business development and sales. I'm talking multi-million pound sales to large corporates like BP and GE and people like that. And also some strong experience clearly on the music and production side as well. So I left my day job without a plan really, other than I knew I wanted to do something different. And one thing which sort of drove both sides of the business, which was kind of the bit between them, is that I get the biggest buzz from helping people be the best version of themselves in terms of whatever they want to do. In terms of that could be promoting themselves or whatever it would be, but actually, and those two skills are needed both I found in the recording side as much as the business side. So that's really where my business, which is TS3, which captures both sides, and the brand for business consultancy, Agile Success, have really come from.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk in detail about Agile Success and the music side of it. But I just wanted to go on that music bit in the first place. What was it that got you into music? What was it about that world that made you want to, to pursue that career in the music industry?
Ah, right. Okay. So it's often the cliche, you come from a musical family, which I did. So my dad was a military bandsman, and my mum was a singer and home writer as well. So I had all that music around me, and it was just an acceptance that music would actually happen for me and my siblings. And it's, even if it's not your main income or your income and core income in my family, it's a core part of your life. It becomes a part of you. But what I found most enjoyable about it was that it takes you to a place where you can't get to. It's a great escapism, but actually it That's what I describe it. It grounds you. It gives you the ability to go back out into the world, having come back into your musical world, as it were.
Yeah.
And that musical world can be quite private if you want. I mean, you put headphones on, you put music on, and you're in a different place completely. And I got really interested on the quality of production I was getting on my. Now I got into hi-fi really early on, during my sort of early teens, and musically I was performing. For example, I was a soloist at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, when I was 11 years old. I sang for 4 seasons there. Some people listening may remember names like Kiri Takanawa, who sang at Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer's wedding. So I was singing alongside with Kiri at the Royal Opera House, singing in the Magic Flute. And I remember money I was earning then, I spent on hi-fi. It was just an opportunity to start buying some stuff. And I found that I was just getting it up on tape recorders and that, and I started getting interested. So that was my spark there. And I was going to be at one point I was going to go to training college to become a sound engineer. So that's really that background sign. But I find that doing the music side now professionally is amazing, because I mix of all sorts of people, and I'm able to bring a lot of my personality, my performance knowledge and skills to them, crucially to help them be at their best. And it's not just musically best. They get their inspiration as well to be happy in their lives through the music they perform and learn with me. So it's great. I love it.
Oh, fantastic. And so out of interest, when you say you're a composer, what sort of things were you composing? What's your genre or your focus?
Okay. So I got quite an eclectic mix of music I like. I tend to get drawn to shock horror, prog rock. And the reason is I was brought up very heavily on classical music and jazz music with my parents. And clearly I was singing opera at the age of 11, which I loved. And then I heard Genesis and then Rush, and I just thought, this is amazing, because it's all very classically orientated music, but it has a real drive and bite and performance to it, and I love that. So from that I was in a band, and when the band sort of rounded itself off, I got myself a multi-track recorder. Clearly I was going to be a sound engineer. And I started then learning how to, the music I was composing, write it down better, recording it better. And someone heard one of my tapes and said, "Oh, would you like to write a musical?" I thought, yeah, okay. So cut a long story short, we wrote this musical. It evolved over a few years and it got published. Then I wrote another one with someone else and that got published. And I was finding I was using my sales skills, which would obviously come on to a bit later, to best position a musical. And what I learned very quickly, and this is one big take I bring to people who want to improve their sales, is it's not a selling process, it's a buying process. How people buy, it's very natural, because a musical is what it is. It is a certain style, it's a certain story, certain number of people, certain orchestration. It is what it is. You can't change it. It is what it is. However, how you position it, how someone buys into it, is the crucial thing. So many businesses that I come across who will sound and look very similar to another business from a buyer's perspective. They will think they're different, but they're kind of not. To a buyer's perspective, they're only different in their own mind, and that's great, because you've got to have that spark. So one thing I did learn very early on, that my sales skills are actually help someone buy them skills. And that's the crucial thing I bring to a business, which is very different. I don't often hear it. I've never heard it from any other person or organization that says, we're going to help you increase your sales. They come at it from selling more. I say, you'll sell more, but don't try. Do these other things. And they say, I've got 2 musicals published using this stuff, and they're performed over the world, which is fun, which is nice.
And just out of interest, what were the musicals? Would any of our audience have heard or even seen?
That they may well have done. So one was The Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's published with Samuel French. And the other is All for One, which is actually D'Artagnan's life story. So we blended the the Man in the Iron Mask with the Three Musketeers story. So we blended those. And that's published with Joseph Weinberger's.
Fantastic. No, really great stuff, and I love how I love a good crossover message as well. And I think this whole piece of you've gone through obviously trying to sell or trying to get a sale for your musicals that you're putting together, and you've put all that hard work in, and you've realized that actually the process of getting those bought is something that you can learn and take those skills elsewhere. So tell me a little bit about that then, in terms of how you, the other side of the business, maybe agile success and what that does, and maybe
Sure.
some of the lessons that come across.
Okay, so people like me becoming involved with their organization, and that can be from a startup right to blue chip. I work with all sorts and both very successfully. But people like me becoming involved with their business because they will get the sales, the increase in sales they want. They will get the certainty to when someone is going to buy, and crucially why. They get understanding of their fee strategy, which is actually a negotiating position, to be honest. And their people gain huge amounts of confidence to try and use new thinking and new skills and tools to achieve the sales they want without actually being salesy. Right. So people say to me, it's amazing that people just started buying. I go, yeah, there's a reason for that. It's because that's how you and me and everybody else around, that's how we all think. That's how we make decisions to invest in something that will help them. Right. And that's why it works. So that's really the crux of what agile success is. And the reason I call it agile success is the agility of mind. And this idea of this musical, it is what it is. It's the same as if a mug is a mug.
Right.
But people will want that mug in their world for all different reasons. But your core thing is basically the same.
Right.
So there are ways of, I have this idea of, there's many businesses who say they're a managed service or not a managed service. And they try and convince someone to have like the managed service. And I say, well, if you do these things, have these conversations, you can position what you've got in a way that someone is most attracted to it.
Right.
And that's game changing when organizations and executives right through the organization recognize that just makes sense. And they start implementing some core changes. And these are nudge changes. The reason people like me around is that it's not disruptive to them, which is quite important. Because the pain of change is, it can be, we can't do it, So the idea is that these are nudge style changes. They're based in very natural human behavior that actually filter right through both large and small organizations from a buyer perspective. So it just kind of works.
Right. And what are some of the key things, without giving away too much of what you're selling and what people are buying? What are some of the key things that stand out for you in terms of getting the change or getting the sales as a result, but changing the behaviors along the way? What are some of those key things that people need to do?
Okay, so one of the core things which we all do as buyers, and you roll that back to why do we buy? It's actually because we're choosing to commit into something and have something in our world. It's to reduce or minimize risk.
Right.
So people go, yeah, that makes sense. So what an organization typically doesn't do is allow the people in the organization, both sales and non-sales, just generally people, to understand their customers' version of risk. Now, I've come across organizations and people who say to me, yeah, we have a consultative style sales. That's great. That's very, very good. But they only go 3 steps, shall we say, in that. They don't go the full 9 yards. Right. And I actually say to them and help them continue with that, or if they're not doing it at all, help them understand how they can start. So my role with them is to enable them to do that on steroids, as it were, and not to flinch. So when someone stops buying into what you're doing, typically people do what we would know as sales things.
Right.
And as a buyer, that puts you off and the situation spirals down. If you do other things, which is kind of what I bring to the party, as it were, they do things that spirals it up towards someone wanting to own and therefore buy the thing that you are offering to them.
I mean, I'm smiling because I've certainly been through this myself. In terms of somebody's having a conversation with you, and then they are ultimately they're trying to sell you something. And yeah, I had an experience recently where someone switched on that buying process and started getting very pushy. And immediately that was, I don't care how good your argument is. There's just a brick wall. This isn't going past my
No,
wallet, essentially.
absolutely. And that's because this risk thing, you as a person feel, you might be conscious. Sometimes it's not a conscious thing the person knows, because there's a psychology to this that why it all sort of comes together as well. But it's because you feel a little bit at risk
Right.
of the situation you're in, of the person who's in front of you, the organization in front of you. And so that starts to, and it's a subconscious thing, you start to tap into this, and it makes it more difficult. And also the seller recognizes that they're at risk of not getting that sale. So they start to do things. But let's say, if you just roll back to the core basic principles, that just to understand someone else's version of risk is actually going to be quite key. Now, the other thing I find on this, which kind of evolves from that, which is the confidence to try something new. So in terms of, I talk to an executive or a managing director or CEO, someone like that, they may sometimes get a little bit concerned or nervous that they will see a dip in sales by someone not selling their stuff for them, the sales force or the people. And so I'm there to help them and give them confidence to try something new and see it through. And people like me being around, because the difference I'm making there is I'm actually there doing it with them. So I have a very hands-on style and help, which is really crucial to this working, because I can come in and I can talk to people, I can notionally train them, we can do workshops and change mindset and show them the skills and tools they could use.
Yeah.
If I say, well, good luck with that, see you next month and let me know how you get on, there's a strong possibility that people won't implement all or even some of it. If they are, they won't implement it in the way that I know works, exactly how it works. And so they won't get the success. And then they go, yeah, that was kind of something we tried, didn't really kind of work out. So I say, look, if you want me to, and people tend to say yes, and I've often taken sort of notional roles in the business as well to help and go customer facing, is that I will show from the inside how an email can be tweaked and changed. I say it's the nudge changes. It's the how to have conversations with customers, how to prepare for a meeting, how to have the meeting, how to follow up with the meeting. And all of that filters into what we would know as a sales process or customer engagement process, but a repeatable way of doing things. That's all the process is.
Yeah.
And so we get consistency of doing the best things all the time. And that's when you get the biggest, best result.
Oh, wonderful. One of the bits I jotted down here as we were speaking was you say there about trying something new, which a lot of people will do, and they'll have a little go at something, but seeing it through. I think that's such a crucial part of experimentation, isn't it? Of actually not just going, oh, no, I tried it, it didn't work. Actually seeing it through and trying to get all the way through the process. Because a process generally works when you carry out the full process, not when you do half of it and walk away. So, what are your experiences in that world?
Well, I guess, if you look at if I go back to my musical world, where as a musical director of say a show, and I run 2 successful choirs as well, and this is quite key as well, is that there is a learning process. I work in my choirs. These aren't necessarily professional singers. I do work professional singers as well, but the choirs aren't designed to do that. Right. So we've got people who are new to the idea of technique of how to sing, how to hear and find their voice. Then they've got another thing to do is, how do I learn music, a song? Right. And there's 3 elements to that, in my opinion. Which is, you got the words, clearly, that's just someone that happens. You got the notes. It's the ability to, harmony is just a series of tunes sung at the same time. So teaching someone to sing harmony, you say, no, don't think it was harmony. Again, reframing this there so they can understand it, is you've just got to learn a different tune to sing. So by copying me, I sing to them, because I can't always read music. Yeah. They copy the notes and words I'm singing. They learn their tune. And then I build up another tune of a different part in the choir. They sing it together, and boom, there's harmony. Right. Then we get to moving from that to what I call style, which is the interpretation. So it's 3 elements. You've got the words, the notes, and then the style element. And style is the fun bit. That's when you start to use the core thinking of the notes and the words, and you start to think about the words and what they mean properly. And then how do you use the instrument, your voice, your skills, to bring something to that connects with an audience. Now, an audience are buying into the song. We're not selling them the song. They become engaged with it. They want to know more. They invest in themselves, the emotional selves to that. And so the other thing, once you get those three coming together and you spend time in your safe place, your rehearsal, which is like an office, back at office, where you learn to use these skills, you can role play in that and all sorts of things. But the crucial thing is when you go to perform, I say perform as rehearsed.
Right.
And in a concert situation, I'm there maybe conducting, but I'm there and I'm just reminding them, triggering them to do the right things, to breathe properly, to use their vocal technique they've been learning to their best ability. They're not all going to be brilliant all that, but collectively they're good. And that means that the audience has a great experience. They buy in and they buy into it. They love it. And they will come back time and time again. The choir will get rebooked and so forth. Right. So actually this idea of buying and not trying to sell comes both from the musical side and that experience as much as the work you do actually in business. And my skills on performance are deep rooted, in top quality, Royal Opera House. You can't get better than that in terms of performance standard skills and going out there, strutting your stuff at the age of 11 in one of the most prestigious opera houses in the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's high performance in its own right, isn't it? In terms of the ability to not only perform, as you say, in some rehearsal or back in your school or in your choir setting, but to go into a high performance arena, be that a race, be that the Royal Albert Hall or a Royal Opera House, whatever it might be, you've got a high performance arena, and that just brings a whole new level of pressure. But it goes back to process then, doesn't it? In terms of
it does.
It's just about delivering the process that's got you prepped to where you are now. And that will get you the results going forward. So
I think you're right. I mean, if you think in business terms, how many times have we all been in a meeting with a customer, senior people in the tech, and you think, I really want this to go well. If you are done your stuff back at base, the safe place, and you understand what will work and why, crucially why, and you know the sort of things you've rehearsed, some ideas of things you could say, some interesting questions that you know where they're going to go and how you'll use the answers. But if you're consciously aware in the meeting of where it's going and what maybe you can do, so the customer gets most from it. They've got a benefit from knowing you, and that's actually what we want to do. I think as organisations, when we are with someone who is clearly knowledgeable, part of this sale, this engagement, what the customer's buying is access to your skills and knowledge for their benefit.
Right.
That's actually what they want. They might end up owning your thing, the thing you're selling. But primarily, they're just trying to make their world better and reduce risk. If they think you're someone, an organisation that can help them, they will give of themselves or commit into that. And you'll find that's why they'll be buying. And that's why this whole process is natural and works. And organisations I see don't do that always consistently well.
Definitely. And I think working with the organisations that I've worked with, and I don't see enough of this preparation, of this, the role play operations, the rehearsal of we want to get a good result out of this. Let's all hope that this meeting goes well. Actually, what have you done to prepare yourself? Who's saying what? What questions are we going to ask? What direction do we want to take this meeting? I think it's a vital skill in its own right, that whole setup.
It is. And I love the fact you said the word hope. One of the things I say to people is I take all hope away from your organisation. I replace it with certainty. And they go, oh yeah. And the reason why that's really important is this idea of hope. So people have said to me that, I don't want to be like a robot. Just, I said our way of bullet point and scripting themselves.
Yeah.
And I said, but we're talking about natural behaviours now. So we know naturally it's about reducing risk and all that side, which we've covered. But this idea of rehearsing what you're going to say, so we all do it. They go, well, I don't. So I think you do. I say, for example, if you're going to, in your own personal life, you're going to ring up an organisation and maybe it's complain or have a question for them. And while the phone is ringing, I said, what are you doing? And I go, he said, you're rehearsing yourself. You're working out what you're going to say. The phone goes up. And the reason why a very professional organisation you're ringing will give it won't ring and pick up immediately. They know you're scripting yourself of what you're going to say, so they give you about 5 seconds for it to ring, because they know you're preparing. So when they answer and say hello, you know that you're going to say something. If it went ring, straight answer, you'd be, I'm not quite sure what to say now, because you haven't scripted yourself. So this is, everything I do is very natural,
right,
and worthy. And again, coming back from my musical background, where you've learned the words and song, you kind of naturally know what you're going to do. And what you would do, you would interpret that. Your performance changes for who you're in front of ultimately, and how well it's going on that side of it. So this is all very natural, which is why it's a nudge process.
Right.
It's not confrontational and doesn't disrupt a business.
Oh, fantastic stuff, and there's loads in there, and I think there's so many points that we can all learn about those nudge bits, and the voice and the tone, the words and the music, and then the actual style to go with it. I think those are really sort of transferable elements. Excuse me. One of the bits I'm always keen to talk to my guests about is how do you help yourself perform? What are the things that you do that get you performing at your best?
That's a really good question. So it's all about learning from everything around you, from experiences. So my clients and customers and organizations that I work with, it's not like it's not a one-way street for me coming into them. It is always a collaboration. So, and that's what I say to people is that, I know stuff and you know stuff. If we actually combine that together, we'll be able to use that and understand how to get the best for them, to get what they think what successful looks like. So I'm always learning and nuancing my understanding of, again, this idea of how people are buying, but actually of personalities, of how people learn, how people take on new skills. So I'm learning from everything around me from that. And that's just in business, let alone in my musical world.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing in there is going to be customers and clients. Then slightly broader than that, I go out to lots of networking style events as well.
Right.
It might not be formal networking, but it's where people are gathering. And again, it's hearing their life experiences of how their world is going, and I always explore with them how they take on try new things and what they don't, which I think is really, really fun to learn. Then another great way of me learning and understanding is going to business expos,
right.
And not as a stand, as literally walk around.
Right.
I was at some last week, for example, and what I'm hearing, I'm looking at the practical reality of what organizations think their people should be doing to promote and ultimately sell to someone like me who's walking around who they don't know.
Right.
So I learn an awful lot of current thinking on technique, what businesses think is acceptable for a person to go and say and do.
Yeah.
And how things I say to them as a buyer impacts on how they respond.
Right.
So I learn literally firsthand. I was there last week at one, and some guy came out and he had a leaflet with some one of their senior guys was going to be talking as a seminar, lots of these different half-hour slots throughout the day.
Right.
And this guy didn't do anything resembling what I would know works in terms of even knowing anything about me, even a little bit. And he just made wild assumptions and just started saying, you want to come to this one, for this one, for this one. And I said, no, it doesn't really do that for me. But this one, what you really going to love that one. And it was all this sort of, and then eventually said to me, when I was clearly saying didn't really connect with any of that, he said, so what do you do? Right. I said, well, I help people improve their sales. He goes, oh, that's interesting. He said, how am I doing? I thought, really? So I said, would you like me to give some feedback? He goes, oh, yeah. I said, you're very salesy. I suggest you calm down a bit and find out more about me. And he was a bit shocked by this. And we had a little bit of a chat beyond that. But he clearly had not had any real guidance from the organization.
Right.
And therefore, and then I could see everybody else was doing the same kind of thing. So to my point in consistency and nudging an organization, I knew there could be some great work in there.
Yeah.
So, we're now talking. But as you can imagine, but this is, people become interested in you when you do certain things. So that's what I do really. And the other thing is I'm creatives in music are another real source
Mm.
of, because they're not in business, so they think they are, but so they're very free with their ideas, and I've tried this, tried that, so I learn a lot of where they've tried new things and what inspired them
Right.
try something new, which is what I want to tap into, that idea of someone feeling safe enough to try something new, and they say, "Oh, I'll do this." Great,
Yeah.
let's understand that. And then there's more formal things, which are there's an online thing I come across called Masterclass,
Right.
where you've got leading people in their field talking through and sharing through a structure
Mm.
how they do what they do and why they do it. So I'd listen to those sort of masterclasses as well.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, there's so much to be learned and so many different ways people help themselves perform as well. I'm always intrigued by those answers. Maybe let's touch on this question of, if you could help any individual or team or organization with the skill set you've got, who would you want that to be?
So I guess on that, it's usually top down, so the executives.
Yeah.
I often hear from people I speak to. I say, "How's it going?" I go network and talk to people, and they hide behind this idea of it's going okay.
Mm.
I go, okay. So if it's going okay, is it going fine? This is in their world a little bit of an acceptance. It is what it is.
Right.
They obviously want to do better, but it's okay. That's a great starting place. So I would say it's being able to come into an organization and inspire them that there is safe alternates
Right.
things that can be done. And I've got a lot of, I've been doing this a long time now, really, sort of best part of 20 years outside of my corporate.
Yeah.
And I've got loads of examples of how and why, crucially, why does it work?
Right.
So helping them understand the why. So, that's the bit, is helping them have the confidence to say, let's try something new with a safe pair of hands, and help their people adopt this confidence just to start to nudge and to try these different things with me in their organization as the guiding light and safe pair of hands to help them.
Right. I think that's an amazing word to focus in on as well. What company would not want better confidence in their operation, and particularly in their sales side of it, but in their whole business, in terms of, we've got confidence the business is going in the right way. So I think that's a great thing to be focusing on there.
Yes, because the confidence goes a number of ways. It's confidence to know that people are doing the right thing, confidence that their customers love them and will continue to buy from them, confidence that the information they know about themselves, because this one thing I'd also should say, that by doing these things, their sales pipeline is solid, because they know when and why someone's going to buy from them. Right. So therefore, as a senior exec and manager, they can actually know when and why to invest in their business.
Right.
So the confidence is widespread for all different reasons.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. And I always like to switch that question round a little bit and say, if you could sit down and have a coffee, have a drink, have a meal with somebody who you think could really up your game, someone you could learn from and perform even better, who would you want that to be?
Okay. I'd say someone who, against all the odds, tried something new. Like almost like not like the extreme version of that, but someone who said, I had to do something, or I recognized that, and what motivated them to try something new, but to see it through. Right. Because I think that's so important, because we can all dabble and try something. Yeah. And if we don't see that it's having the impact we thought it might, is to understand what motivated them to kind of keep going. How did they find out more about it, what they're meant to be doing, how they refine what they're doing, or whatever, but what was it that actually got them to that better place? Yeah. And when they got there, did they kind of stop? What help did they get? Did they continue to get the help? Because I know from my experience that once you get help to do something, if you want to keep doing it well, keep getting the help. Right. Yeah. I mean, the best business people, the best athletes and musicians don't get a bit of help and stop. They don't think they know best. They tend to still want to have more. So I'd like to understand how they changed and continue to get the motivation and input to their world.
Right. Oh, wonderful. And I think that's, again, another great lesson that we can all learn in terms of, are we getting the help up to a certain point, or are we continuing on with that so that we can continue to perform? That's brilliant. So if there was one key message that you'd like the audience to leave with today, in terms of, from what you've said already, or maybe just a piece that you'd love people to think about going off from listening to this episode, what would that be?
Okay, so change doesn't need to be disruptive, and change is a continuous process.
Right. It's always there, isn't it? It's not. There's no end point. You've kind of got to be used to that and make sure that you're set up for the next change that's coming along your way.
It does, and it builds confidence by having that mindset. Is that it doesn't need to disrupt my world. It's going to enhance my world. It's going to it's going to give me greater skills, greater confidence, greater knowledge, and when those sorts of things are very attractive to someone else. So this idea of buying and not selling, you become attractive. There was someone who's coming towards you. They're buying from you. So by doing that, not only are you going to help yourself and your business will start to improve, the clients see that and they say, I want that in my world, and they will invest and spend money and time and resource working with you, which is the partnership that you're looking for with any customer. Even if you're selling widgets, you want them to come back and buy more widgets. If you're selling something where it's more interactive as a sale, then clearly that's even better. But even I've got clients who kind of do transactional sales, and they love working with me because we still get the results they're looking for.
Brilliant stuff. And so if people want to find out more, if they want to connect with you, where do they go to find out more and reach out and connect with you?
Okay, so my webpage is www.agilesuccess, that's two words as one, agilesuccess.co.uk. I can be contacted through that, but my actual email is john@agilesuccess.co.uk. And I'm very happy to connect on LinkedIn, of course, as well.
Yep.
And all of that can be got through those sources.
Brilliant. And we'll make sure, as always, that those links are in the show notes so that people can reach out and begin their own journey in terms of moving from hope to certainty. I think that's a wonderful view to think about. So, John, I've learned so much from this conversation. I think there's so much inspiring stuff, bringing those lessons that you've had from the world of music and composing, bringing them into business and the world of sales, and really making some shifts and changes in that space as well. So I applaud you for that, and thanks so much for being on the show today, John Wallace.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Paul.
Cheers. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, then please give the podcast a rate, review, and share. I'm Paul Teasdale, and from sausage making to banking, oil and gas to Formula One, I help people perform. If you'd like to find out more and have a conversation, contact me via helpingpeopleperform.com.